Hola amigos, hola a todos. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you can tell by the title, today we are going to be talking about the major differences between Brazilian and European Portuguese. So if you would like to know what the differences are between the two, please just keep up with it, okay? If it is your first time here, hi, hello, my name is Felicia and this is my channel. Welcome. We learn here, so you should probably subscribe because you probably want to learn something. So yeah. So you know what, let's go straight into the differences. Let's get straight into it. So obviously the first difference between these two is on pronunciation, right? So the pronunciation, there's a few syllables and a few differences in their pronunciation. I'll get straight into it. So the first one that I noted personally was on the T sound. Now on European Portuguese, the T sound makes a t sound, right? And on Brazilian Portuguese, the T sound can actually sometimes be a ch sound. For example, take the word, this word right here, right? Pronouncing it in European Portuguese would be tia, tiu, right? But pronouncing it in Brazilian Portuguese, it would be chia or chiu. Same goes for other words like this one, in which European would be set, right? But Brazilians will pronounce it as sete, right? Same for quinte and quinche. So yeah, that's for like words that have a T sound. It's obviously not all of them, but yeah, that's what I noticed, that the Brazilians sometimes pronounce their T as a ch sound. So you need to note that, right? And then my second sound is the D sound. Again, it's different for the Brazilian Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese will give it a J sound basically, whereas in European Portuguese they'll still have the D sound. For example, take this word meaning city, right? The Brazilians will pronounce it as cidade, right? Whereas the Europeans will pronounce it as cidade. So, see, that's where you have your difference. This difference now differs with the European Portuguese. So European Portuguese usually, if a word ends with an S, right, it has a sh sound, right? But if you're pronouncing it in Brazilian Portuguese, you just pronounce the S with the S sound, like a normal, like the way you see it. For example, this word, which is the number 2, if you pronounce it in European Portuguese, it's dois. But if you pronounce it in Brazilian Portuguese, it's dois. So that's like a few of the slight differences, but I felt that those were differences to note in terms of pronunciation. Oh, and one more major difference in pronunciation. So the Portuguese, when they talk, the Europeans, when they talk, they tend to talk with their mouths closed, right? They just, they just mouth their words, they keep their words in them, right? And the Brazilians like mouth their vowels, like they bring it all out. So for example, let me take the word for cake, right? This is the word for cake. The Europeans will pronounce it as bolo, right? And the Brazilians would say bolo. So the Brazilians talk more with their mouths open, and the Portuguese, they keep their verbs in. So yeah, basically that's all I could note in terms of pronunciation. Obviously, so when they now talk, you will definitely hear a major difference, because European Portuguese will have more of a sh sh at the end, like dois dias, dias, and then the other one will sound like dois dias, blah, blah, blah. So the second difference, as I said, I noted was on vocabulary, right? So there are obviously the same languages. Obviously, if you use these words, you'll be understood on both sides, but it's just good that you know that sometimes like the vocabulary is different on one side or the other. So okay, so we've got like words and phrases where they mean totally different things. For example, if you want to say take the bus, it's different how you're gonna say it in Europe and how you're gonna say it in Brazil. You get it? So in Europe, you're gonna say pegar un ônibus, and then in Brazil, you're gonna say apanhar um autocarro. So essentially, you're saying the same thing, but they use like different ways to say it. And that's just like one phrase, for example, right? So, for example, the word for nickname, where in Brazil it's alcunha, and in Europe it's apelido. And then the word for bathroom, where in Brazil it's in Brazil it's banheiro, and then in Portugal it's casa de banho. The word for handsome, in Brazil they say giro or gira. In Europe they say bonito, bonita. Breakfast, Europe says café da manhã, and Brazil says pequeno almoço. Like I said, these are just like slight differences. It's not like if you go to Brazil and then you say I want to use a casa de baño, wanting the bathroom. It's not like they're not gonna understand what you're saying, but it's just that they say banheiro, but they'll know what casa de baño is. So yeah, that's on the vocabulary, right? And then my final difference that I noted was, I called it the cultural differences. So now the cultural differences are obviously affected by the vocabulary. This is where now words and phrases will be meaning totally different things because of like the influence of culture, because of like, you know, the whole different environment situation, right? For example, where with the vocabulary, like we said, right, that one word can mean something totally different. So that's where you need to be careful that some words may be okay to use like in Europe, but then if you cross over to Brazil, it can actually be offensive to use like certain words or certain phrases. So that's something that you need to be aware of, I guess, if you're gonna travel, if you're gonna be learning language for traveling purposes, right? So you need to know some things may be offensive on one side, but on the other side it's like it's totally normal. For example, take the word bárbaro, right? In Brazil, they use it like it means awesome, like it means cool, like awesome. So, but then in European Portuguese, it means barbaric or barbarian. So if you go and you say esta garota é bárbara, right? In Brazil, they could actually think, oh, you're saying this girl is so cool, like she's awesome. But if you say that in Europe, that could actually mean this girl is barbaric. So you see, that's where you need to just be careful with some of the vocabulary, that yes, they may understand what you're trying to say. Maybe you're lucky and they understand what you're trying to say, but then maybe they get offended, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm here to tell you, because I got you. Right? So, and then another thing that you need to note on the cultural differences a lot is that the European, when they speak, they drop the subject pronoun. So the subject pronoun is these, right? The eu, tu, ele, ela, você, y'all know, yeah. So when they talk, they drop the subject pronoun. So if they want to say I speak, they'll say falo English, falo francês, I speak English, I speak French. So yeah, but then in Brazil, they actually they don't drop that. They say it. Eu falo inglês, eu falo francês, eu como banana. So that's one difference that you need to note. If you're gonna speak to a European Portuguese person, they like drop the "eu" a lot, right? And then another difference between the two is with their forms of address. So European Portuguese, we have tu and você, right? With você, it's like a formal way of saying you, and then tu is like the informal way. But then in Brazil, there's no tu. They just use você on both sides. It's like você is you can use você with your friends and your colleagues and everything, but you can still use tu as well. So but in Portugal, they have você, like you can't address someone who is like higher than you and say tu, because right. So those were my major differences that I noted. If you think I left out some differences, please be sure to comment them down below or suggest maybe I'll make a part 2 of this video. But yes, if you like this video, please comment, please like it, please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, muito obrigada. Until next time, ciao. Right, so those were my major differences that I noted. If you think I left out some differences, please be sure to comment them down below or suggest maybe I'll make a part 2 of this video. But yes, if you like this video, please comment, please like it, please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, muito obrigada. Until next time, ciao.